Hey everyone, welcome to Dollar Games, and today I want to talk about something. So, I had a pretty normal childhood. School, weekends with friends, family dinners, the usual. But somewhere between all of that, I found something else that really stuck with me, and that was JRPGs. To most people, it probably looked like I was just playing some sort of game. But for me, those stories, those battles, those characters, they meant something more. JRPGs weren't just entertainment. They were how I made sense of the world, how I learned to reflect, and how I connected with something bigger than myself. So today, I want to talk about how these games didn't just shape my tastes, they helped shape me. I was lucky. I grew up in a home filled with warmth, laughter, and support. We had plenty of home-cooked meals and movie nights. I didn't turn to video games because I needed to escape anything. I turned to them because they expanded the world I already loved living in. They gave my imagination permission to run wild in ways the real world couldn't always match. JRPGs especially felt like a portal. When I turned on something like Lunar Silver Star Story or Chrono Trigger, it wasn't about leaving my life behind. It was about adding a new layer to it. I could be a hero traveling through time, a kid with a talking sword, or a leader of a party on a quest to save the world. Those stories didn't compete with my reality, they complemented it. The characters felt familiar, even if they lived in completely different worlds. They had doubts, dreams, and inside jokes of their own. I think that's what made it stick. These weren't just fantasy stories with dragons and airships. They were relatable. They reminded me of the people around me and helped me understand emotions and relationships in ways that even school sometimes couldn't. And the world themselves? They were handcrafted with so much care and personality. I remember walking around pixelated towns, reading every NPC line, because I genuinely wanted to live in those places for a little while. They felt like a cozy storybook I could just step into, one button press at a time. Looking back, those JRPGs didn't just feed my imagination, they shaped it. They taught me how to appreciate character arcs, how to follow long-form stories, and how to find wonder in the details. And they gave me something just as valuable as comfort: curiosity. The kind that makes you look at your own world and wonder, what if I went on an adventure? If there's one thing that sticks with me about JRPGs, it's how calm they felt. While so many other games are about fast reflexes and twitchy combat, turn-based systems gave you the time to think. There was a rhythm to it, like a quiet little ritual between attack, defend, magic, and heal. It was kind of the structure that clicked with me, especially during those in-between years where everything just felt like it was changing way too fast. When I played games like Persona 4, I wasn't just fighting shadows. I was living a calendar-driven life with clear goals where you wake up, go to school, spend time with friends, study, battle, repeat. It was strangely satisfying to make little decisions every day and see how they added up over time. Even something as simple as choosing to read a book or join a club gave me a feeling of control. It made each day, even a virtual one, feel purposeful. And that structure didn't stop at social systems. In games like Final Fantasy X or Dragon Quest VIII, battles were puzzles with rules. You had to understand enemy weaknesses, plan turns, manage MP, and know when to pull out that clutch limit break or spell. I'd spend hours optimizing gear, planned skill paths, and obsessing over party composition. Not because I had to, but because it scratched this itch for logic and order. What I didn't realize at the time was that these games were teaching me something: patience, discipline, and the value of incremental progress. I wasn't rushing to the end. I was learning how to enjoy the steps in between. Grinding for levels might sound boring, but in the moment, it was meditative. A reminder that even slow progress is still progress. So many people think turn-based games are outdated, too slow for modern players, but honestly, for me, they were exactly what I needed. They taught me how to slow down, breathe, think ahead, skills that I use every day. It wasn't just about beating bosses, it was about building habits, routines, and confidence. And that was something these games really emphasized. One of the most lasting things JRPGs gave me wasn't just epic stories and flashy combat. It was about the feeling of connection. These games didn't just throw characters into your party for gameplay reasons. They built relationships. They gave space for quiet moments, internal conflicts, and unlikely friendships to form. And as someone figuring out my own place in the world, that meant a lot. Take Suikoden 2. You didn't just gather party members, you gathered people, each with their own baggage, hopes, and reasons for joining your cause. Over time, your base of operations became more than a headquarters. It becomes a home, The blacksmith, the librarian, the squirrel that throws ninja stars, they all matter. The growing sense of community, of building something bigger than yourself, made the world feel alive and deeply personal. Final Fantasy VIII might have been divisive for some, but it hit me at just the right time. At its core, it's a story about emotionally guarded kids learning how to lean on each other. Squall starts off closed off, even hostile, but slowly, awkwardly, he starts to trust. Watching that group of Seed Cadets evolve from reluctant teammates into a real support system felt authentic in a way I didn't expect. It showed that vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's the start of something real. Even older games like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger managed to deliver that feeling with just a few lines of dialogue or pixel animations. Somehow, despite the limitations of the hardware, these characters came to life. I cared about them. I worried about them. I wanted them to be okay. Not because I needed them to win battles, but because they felt real. Looking back, these stories shaped how I think about relationships. They showed me that family isn't just about who you're born to. It's about the people you choose to stand beside you. The ones who accept your flaws, push you to grow, and remind you that you're not alone. That idea of a found family coming together through hardship is at the heart of so many JRPGs, and it's something I've carried with me far beyond the screen. One thing JRPGs never shied away from was emotion. These weren't just stories about saving the world. They were about loss, identity, and sacrifice, and everything in between. And even though I was just a kid when I first played some of these games, they introduced me to big, complicated feelings in a way that felt safe and manageable. They created emotional playgrounds where it was okay to feel deeply, even if you didn't fully understand why yet. I still remember one of those moments when a game hit me hard. It wasn't a cutscene with dramatic music or a tragic twist. It was something quieter. A moment in Final Fantasy IX when Vivi realizes what he is, or when Garnet cuts her hair. These were character moments, not just plot beats, and they hit hard because they were earned. These games took their time, trusted you to connect the dots, and respected your emotional intelligence even as a kid. Games like Xenogears and Final Fantasy VII tackled topics I barely had the language for. Trauma, grief, existential dread, and while I didn't grasp every nuance at the time, I felt it. The music, the tone, the weight of those scenes, they stayed with me. JRPGs didn't talk down to their players. They let us sit with those heavy moments, and in doing so, they gave us the tools to process our own emotions, long before we had words for them. And the beauty of it all? Even in the darkest moments, there was always a spark of hope, whether it was a character finding their purpose, a party member returning against all odds, or a quiet sunrise after a long dungeon crawl. JRPGs knew how to balance heartbreak with healing. They reminded me that no matter how heavy things felt, the story wasn't over. There was always still time to grow, to fight, to move forward. Now looking back, I realized those games helped me build emotional resilience. They didn't just let me feel, they showed me what it meant to work through those feelings. And because I first experienced those lessons in fantastical, pixelated worlds, they've always stuck with me, not as lectures, but as memories, as stories I lived in my own quiet way. Well, I'm older now. The days of summer vacation spent glued to a CRT TV, grinding for XP, or waiting for battle transitions to load are long gone. Life's busier. There are more responsibilities, more distractions, more noise. But when I revisit JRPGs I grew up with, whether it's Final Fantasy IX, Chrono Trigger, or Xenogears, something quiets down inside me. It's not just nostalgia, it's a reminder of who I was and what those games taught me. Back then, leveling up was simple. You beat enemies, gained experience, and got stronger. But the truth is, that mechanic shaped how I think about growth even now. It made progress feel tangible. It reminded me that you don't always need to leap forward. Sometimes slow and steady gains are enough. Sometimes surviving the battle is the reward in itself. That mindset carried over into how I learned, worked, and even dealt with setbacks in my real life. And just like in those games, I didn't do it alone. Over time, I've built my own party, friends, family, mentors, people who've supported me, challenged me, and helped me become who I am. The best JRPGs always reminded me that even when you're the main character in your own life, it's the people you travel with that make the story matter. That sense of shared purpose, of growing together, still resonates with me to this day. Of course, I still play new games, modern ones that carry the same spirit as the classics I loved. But as the mechanics evolved and visuals got sharper, the core of the genre remains the same: heart, reflection, growth. Whether it's an indie game like Chained Echoes or a remake of something I played as a kid, the emotional blueprint is still there, and it still matters to me, just as much as it did when I first picked up a controller. So when people ask me why I still love JRPGs, why I go back to them time and time again, it's because they gave me more than stories or battles or stats. They gave me perspective. They helped me grow up, and honestly, in a world that moves a little too fast, sometimes all I need is a turn-based reminder that progress is still possible. One step, one level, one moment at a time. So here's to the games that shaped us. Not because we needed to run from something, but because they gave us the space to feel, to think, to grow. JRPGs weren't just a part of my childhood. They were a thread that followed me into adulthood, reminding me who I was and helping me figure out who I want to be. If these games meant something to you, let me know in the comments. What was your favorite turn-based therapy? And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick around. And I'll catch you on the next video.